Welcome everyone to Connecting Thoughts. My name is Nuno Oliveira and I'm really proud today to give a gift for you all, right? I have with me Andrea Kates, right? I'm so excited because I don't know where the conversation will take us, right? So I'll basically start by asking Andrea, thank you for being here. Really, it's a pleasure and an honor, right? And I'll be asking you, tell us a little bit who is Andrea, right? Who are you for audience? And then in the end, tell us, we'll then chit chat a little bit.
Well, I love 3-beat stories. So the first beat of who is Andrea Kates is that I'm a person who was the CEO of a SaaS software company in San Francisco. And it was dedicated to the lean startup, bringing lean startup methodology to large corporations, entrepreneurs, and people who lead large organizations. So the first thing I am is former CEO of a tech company. Now, that leads to the second beat of my 3-beat story. The second beat is I had a moment after working with 13,000 teams at a time where I thought, okay, something's not working. We have all these teams that are trying to innovate, that are trying to take action, that are really well-intentioned, really talented, but so many great ideas were literally dying an early death. And so the second beat of who is Andrea Kates is, I thought, this is unacceptable. It's not acceptable for fantastic ideas that could really serve people to die on the vine. And the third beat of my story is, as you know, I decided to help many, many leaders, both through the work that I do working with companies, but also my role right now is that I am the MIT Entrepreneur in Residence. So I work with students and executives to help them understand how to get unstuck. And the final part of the third beat is that I have a book that is brand new called From Stuck to Scale, which is really about how to use practical tools for leaders to make sure that important ideas don't die on the vine and they get all the way across the finish line.
Okay, thanks. That's you, right? So now we need to be dangerous, right? So let me start by asking you some simple question, right? So someone that borns in the technology world, right? And like you said, you are not comfortable because you said that you want to give more to the world, to yourself, to be more, I'll say, satisfied in the sense of realized, right? Today, the world, I'll say, basically sits on technology, right? So there are very few jobs, if any, that they don't really require technology, right? So, but there is a big, I'll say, gap between who understands technology and who needs to use technology. So how can someone from technology world become most probably someone that is probably yourself as an action-oriented woman, right? So how to move from the technology that is more cold world, right, into the human side that is more. So how you bring leaders, right? How you bring leaders to your mindset? What are the key type of messages that if you're in front of someone saying, I'm here, this is my experience, and I'm here to help you to move away. So it's two different worlds, right? The cold, the warm one. What are the first words you'll say to someone, right? If you really want to help them to trigger some actions to make things happen.
You might be surprised, since I live in San Francisco, that I will tell you the thing that I say over and over. And I learned it when I was the innovator in residence at Cisco, which is a large technology company. And the mentor there, the person who was in charge of all of the innovation for technology, had a deep technology background. And we did hackathons, and we gave prizes, and we told everybody to be innovative. But when it really came down to it, at the end of the day, how do you judge who's the best innovation? How do you really judge that? And he said something great to me. He said, we need to tell people to stop pitching. Now, we teach elevator pitches. And so, yes, on certain levels, it's very important to know how to elevator pitch. You have literally between the second floor and the 11th floor of a building, you're in the elevator with someone who could really benefit from your technology, and the temptation is to talk, 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 talk. But what he said to me that I have really ingrained into my approach is, first you need to find out what it is that person will be motivated by, and then match the technology and the message to what they care about. And that's very different from me talking about the code and Python and SAS and blah, blah, blah. And people are just standing there thinking, I hope the door to this elevator opens really soon. So instead, when you say, hey, tell me what you're trying to do. Well, I'm in charge of, I don't know, sales. Okay, how hard is it for you to find new leads? And you start down the path of what really matters to them. Don't pitch them. And then say, we've got this thing. Don't mention its technology. We've got this thing that could really help you. And so the real message is start with empathy. Start with understanding what the value proposition is for the other person, and then bring technology into it. And that was a big aha. And I thank Joe Pinto for that lesson.
Okay, good. But then why do you believe that people born, and majority of times in consultancy and technology companies, why do you believe that the world is still telling people to pitch? Because you gave an example, salesperson, sales function, right? I believe people are being taught today saying, if you are a salesperson, you need to pitch. Because you need to go there and then saying, sell everything you have to sell, right? So go there and sell. And people are taught to do that, right? So why do you believe what's the reason behind that, right?
Okay. So I think number one is it's kind of lazy to just say the same thing to everybody. Like, who is Andrea? I'm not going to tell you where my children are and everything about my favorite color and what fashion I like. I mean, I understand the context. I say, read the room, right? Read the room.
Yeah.
So you say, tell me 3 things about you. I mean, I could go on for 10 years about that, right? I think I'm fascinating.
Yeah.
But I also am like, okay, for this context, what 3 beats might resonate with the people that are going to be listening or watching? So it's kind of lazy to just go, I'm just going to say everything. So I was born in this city and then I went to school. It's like, oh my goodness, no, please don't pitch to me. Instead, just take a moment, read the room, and find 3 things that you believe are a connection between what you want to, quote, pitch and what they care about, to be quite honest.
Okay. So you already told us twice about empathy, the human side, that connection, right? But I will get back to my initial question, right? People in technology, right? They're not used to it, right? It's almost like technology, go on there and sell technology because technology solve a problem. But I continue to call the cold world, right? Because it's almost like technology is not something you touch or you hug, right? Now with bots and robotics, you can see some part of technology, but it's a shelf, right? Technology is what's behind. And you mentioned that twice already. If I look to the world today, and if we pick up an example, artificial intelligence, right? Artificial intelligence, even if we like it or not, it's a cold thing in the sense of there could be a moment possible in the future, you can try to fake emotions, all of that, but AI, it's there supposedly to solve problems, to be applied, to be actionable, right? Like you also said. But the point in here is there is, again, a gap, right? How can we bring together these AI cold worlds with the human side? Because you said, okay, let's find the solution, let's hear people, let's bring them, let's put probably ourselves in their shoes. But the education, the literacy, how they are ready to get it. So do you have any type of trick, tools? Is your book telling any story about that? How to put ourselves in their shoes, how to bring that, how to build, right, that empathy with the need, and then bring technology, like you said. Any story that you want to share with us, anything that brings this need of getting and discovering let's call it the issue, the pain, right? And bring it to write it and show it and then bring technology to help?
Well, I started my career years ago in research, and I am bookish. I'm a serious data-centric thinker. And even when I lead with evidence, I lead with validation. I know that innovation is lovely, but my bias is that innovation in and of itself can be kind of frivolous. And innovation with evidence, innovation with experiments, innovation with validation and data is really powerful. And I remember years ago, I must have been in my early 20s, and I was leading, in those days, focus group. It was a research project. And the question was something like, we were very scripted. And in those days, the spreadsheets were binary. And it was like very important that we stick to the script and that we have yes or no questions or 5-point scales. And that was the way we did research. We did research as if people's opinions were going to fit into boxes. And I will never forget somebody saying the following to me after a focus group, because we were saying, which detergent do you like better, Cheer or Tide? Those were two brands. Yeah. And then we tried to convince people that they should love phosphorus. And then we tried to convince people that they should love what we loved, right? So we were getting feedback. But then the cameras kept rolling. And after the cameras went off was when the truth came out. People started laughing and saying, I don't really want to do laundry at all. I want someone to do my laundry. And the college students were saying, couldn't I get my mom to come to college with me? Which was kind of humorous, but in point of fact, it was a big insight. And one of the companies ended up providing laundry services on campuses because they listened to what was really being said about the need instead of just which would you like better, A or B. That research discipline that I learned in my early 20s continues today with the approach to AI. So first of all, you need to know that data in this world is the most powerful thing. And the ability to not just see data in its current set, like A or B, which is two choices that we have on the table, but something that's I call EAM, emerging available markets, is actually critical. And so if you'll indulge me, I will tell the story of Rappi, which is in my book.
Yeah.
I'm very privileged that the company allowed and approved of the case study because it's one of the first full case studies on Rappi and its rapid growth from 2016, when the founders of the company were literally in Bogota, Colombia, giving away donuts for free if people would download their app. This is a true story. 2016, they had very few customers and they were a sandwich or a food delivery service. Today, they are a $5.2 billion omni-channel platform in Latin America that does many things, including travel, including something called Rappi Favor, including sandwich delivery, and they are actually now the back end for many banks because they have a payment system. Now, why am I telling you this story? The hidden talent of this company is data. The ability to see not just which do you want, a sandwich or a drink, which do you want, a drink for lunch or a drink for dinner. That's lovely. That's old-fashioned knowledge about data. But the power of AI, the power of data, is to actually be able to feel what is missing for a customer and turn that into a viable and scalable line of business. So here's what Rappi did. So Guido Becher is the person featured in From Stuck to Scale. And they, at the time, were the sandwich delivery, food delivery service. They had moved from free donuts to a little bit more sophisticated. So they had a platform. They sort of had a payments, and they had some back end to it. But what was really interesting is that they started to notice that there were unmet needs because they had a platform called Rappi Favor. Rappi Favor was like a bulletin board, and you could literally, and Guido learned about Rappi through this. He wasn't working for the company at the time, but he had a son who left his, we say in America, soccer, but it's football most of the world.
Yeah.
So he left his football shoes at home. This is a disaster for a middle school child. Like, Dad, please bring me my shoes.
Nothing to do anymore. I don't want to go to school.
Yeah, I can't go to school. I can't talk to my friends. I left my shoes at home. I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Right. So he's like, Dad, can you come bring my shoes? He's like, I'm at work. There's no way I can do that. So Rappi Favor, he's like, oh, I heard of this thing, Rappi Favor. He goes on Rappi Favor and says, does anyone have a motorbike? Because in Bogota, it's bad traffic, like many cities. Does anyone have a motorbike who could take my son's shoes to this particular school, like right now? He got a little message. Somebody said, yeah, I've got a motorbike, happy to do it. Picked up the shoes, took the shoes to, this is a true story, took the shoes to the school. And Guido's like, oh my God, who is this Rappi company? Like, this is genius, right? The reason I'm telling you this is that is an unmet need, right? And they earned his trust. They earned Guido's trust. Well, Guido was running a travel company, completely independent of Rappi at the time. So what he did is he came on board, and it turned out that the person who ordered like ceviche for lunch had a secret desire to buy, of course, a drink, but also a plane ticket to Peru. This is true story. So he went from like an $8 lunch to a $500 plane ticket and discovered that many people had they wanted to try sushi. Maybe they wanted to go to Tokyo. And he discovered through science, through evidence, through data, and these engines that are so powerful, AI, if it's creepy, it's finding out that Andrea bought sushi. Andrea's been also maybe, I don't know, Googling Tokyo, right? And I super into anime culture, whatever. That's creepy. But on the good side, once you have my trust, it's like, oh my goodness, thank you for discovering that. Yes, I would love a ticket on sale to Tokyo. How can you help me? And that gave birth through the data, through the evidence, through the technology, the ability to discover this EAM, this emerging available market, which gave birth to Rappi Travel, which is now a division of Rappi.
Okay, nice story. So can I say that you mentioned innovation, right? You mentioned unmet needs, emerging markets, right? Isn't that all the same? Because in the end, the world today talks about innovation like if needs to be something new. But sometimes it's new on the need, not necessarily new, neither on technology, neither nothing else. It's basically, I'll say, the new part of it, it's mainly the unmet needs, right? But people continue to call it innovation, my gut feeling, because they don't know how to explain it, right? And by innovation, they can put everything there. Oh, that was part of innovation. The story you told us, right? We can literally say, from selling a donut or giving a donut, not even selling it, right? Giving a donut,
exactly.
right? To selling travel tickets, right? And there is a full chain of needs that they were discovered through possibly innovation, possibly that analysis, and possibly some time back, not the evolution of AI that we have today. So we can even say that probably it was harder, right? So how do you define innovation? How do you bring to ourselves, what's your view, right? If you need to write a few sentences, a few bullets, how do you describe innovation?
You might be surprised because I've been described as an innovator and an innovation specialist, which I am. But here's my view on it, because I care less about how many sticky notes you can generate on a wall. By the way, I have won a contest for how many sticky notes for a given idea I could generate. I'm very generative personally by nature, but I actually don't care about that. Because I'm a business person and I help companies with strategy. I help entrepreneurs make sure that their companies are going to succeed. I help large divisions of major companies figure out where in the automobile industry will biometrics work in the US the same way they work in China. I mean, these are serious places to make investments. And so it matters less. I mean, once again, I'm very good at generating things. People are very good at inventing things. So when I ran the software company, a lot of people had intellectual property, and I'd walk into many, many companies. I mean, and I'm not being negative about this, but you walk into a company like 3M or, these companies, and they have patents on the walls. And patents are only part of the story, right? Because the invention, the innovation is only part of it. If you can't take that really cool rubber and turn it into a sticky note that people will use and make their lives improved, then it's really just, I don't like innovation for just innovation's sake. It's fun. Don't get me wrong. I can win contests. But in point of fact, what I think is important is to marry this emerging need with a business model that works, with an invention that's going to make lives better. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't check all three boxes, it's not the kind of innovation that I care about. And I'll give you an example. Because the other very controversial thing that I discovered, unfortunately, is that innovation has to, for a business innovation to work, it has to be innovative according to 4 quadrants. And this is also in the book, From Stuck to Scale. Because in the book, there's practical tools. And this is like the most practical back of an envelope. So picture like 4 quadrants. At the top left is the ability to innovate based on people, what I was talking about, like what's the most likely thing that Nuno will want to buy next or think about next, or what's missing, or what's he talking about? Like, I need to now know through empathy that Nuno is interested in foreign countries, interesting foods, interesting travel. Like, I need to have a sense of
profile people. Me, right?
Yeah,
something
profile
like
and relatable, right?
Yeah.
And trust. So that's 1 quadrant. So you have to be innovative in the top left quadrant by being very innovative with how to relate and gain trust from people. Okay, and that also includes people in your company. The top right is innovative like moonshot, like we're gonna really go big on this. Now that actually scares a lot of people. Most normal people in companies aren't moonshot people. We're so busy that we're implementing things all day long. We have maybe 5 minutes per month to think about a moonshot, and then we hope it goes away and we can go back to our work. So a moonshot would be, maybe we, like for Rappi, maybe we could be the back end for a bank, like that's a big idea. But then it's like, okay, let's think about that tomorrow because we're trying to get the problem, the glitch in our software to work so that people, are not screaming at us all day. Okay. Here's what's so I call that top, above the line innovation is thinking differently about serving needs, unmet needs, and thinking innovatively about what might be possible, like because of new technology, deep tech. AI is a big place where people are thinking big. Okay. On the bottom left is another really important aspect of innovation in my definition, because it's logistics, it's operations, it's making sure that business models make sense and are going to be operational. So the other one is the 3rd quadrant, where it's really all about operations and logistics and how people will be able to bring business models to scale. And that's very different from having a cool idea. And unfortunately, people in quadrant 3, so to speak, the bottom left, a lot of times they're not even invited into innovation meetings. Why? They're going to say, how are we going to make that happen? So it's like, please go away, Nuno. We'll get to you later. You're not innovative.
The resistance layer, right? Some of them don't want to change it, right?
100%. And also, it's like there's this friction between the what if people and the how people. Because the how people feel like they're buzz killers. They're taking a balloon and they're taking all the air out of it, right? Here you have this great idea, and now it's like, oh no, Nuno just said no. Quadrant 3, it's like, let's not invite them back next time, honestly. Yeah. But innovation can be great. Like, for instance, Lego during COVID, one of the things they figured out is they couldn't deliver the bricks to the children because it was COVID and there were no flights. So they said, and then their supply chain was all changed. Yep. So a friend of mine inside the company told me what they actually did. It was so damn innovative. It was logistics innovation like I love, right? They took out the seats in commercial airplanes. So they said, commercial airplanes aren't flying. Let's put the bricks inside the planes and deliver them that way and get over the hurdles of the supply chain issues. To me, that's brilliant. That's innovation. But people don't get credit for that being innovative. It was a problem solving. But to me, logistics innovation is so important to being able to actually scale a business idea. And then the final one is data and technology. And a lot of times the finance people, the data people also aren't invited into meetings because they can't possibly be innovative because everything they do is on a spreadsheet or now it's on an AI platform. But we need to be able to merge the thinking. And this is also what I love about being at MIT. You walk into a room where people are scientists and engineers and very much that quadrant 4 thinkers, and you bring them to the point where you're saying, yes, and how can we also have that brilliant technology serve a human need? That marriage is the magic.
Okay. But I need to be honest, right? So it's all fine, right? But you are being known as an unstuck specialist, right? The Lego story about the plane and all of that, someone unstuck an issue. Someone was able to solve a problem, right? But at the same time, problems, how can I say that problems come from the human side? Because if you leave computers running, if you leave technology moving forward, it will be hard for some to say, or the technology will say, I have a problem, help, right? Can even be a nice picture, right? Technology saying, please. I saw something the other day saying someone fired GPT, right, because of AI, right? So, but unstucking, right? And your book, you talk about that, right? How do you unstuck the human side? Because you just mentioned something that probably is the hardest thing to do, right? If you believe in something, for whatever reason, because you don't want to change, it will give you more nights without sleep, it will be hard for you. The majority of us choose the easiest path. We don't want the hardest path, right? We don't see many times the benefit of the hardest path. So in your book, and how you describe, do you have any methods, any type of methodology that you want to share about what are the 3, 4, 5 type of things that you'll say, how to start unstucking, right? Your book talks about that, right? And I'll go back again to the book in a while, but tell us a little bit, how do you describe some type of, I cannot not even say if I can call it a methodology or a sequence of steps. How do you start by unstucking?
Well, it took me a long time to get simple about that question. So literally in 2013 till now, I have been wondering that question many, many times per day. It didn't make sense. I'll give you 2 examples. Like, it didn't make sense to me that we tell people who are doing like pilots in innovation or lean startup or whatever, oh, now you need to pivot. Well, a subject matter expert who has spent 5 years of their life developing something really important and wonderful, and we find out that the business model won't sell it, and so it's not going to be a business success, that individual has a psychological barrier to pivoting. Yet we say, oh, no, please pivot. That didn't work. You were going to go down A path. It's not working. You need to find B path. We have psychological resistance to things that we care about. And we care about things that we've invested in. And so actually, sometimes we're the last person to be able to get out of our own way. So that's an example. And I'll tell you how we do it and how it works. So for a stubborn genius is one, I
know the feeling. I met a few of them, right?
So, the stubborn genius is, we can't hurt their feelings. We have to acknowledge, like, that is brilliant. You have now figured out this patent for ABCD. But what we found is, like, say in healthcare, you have just invented this wonderful healthcare solution. You know what? We've been at it for 2 years. We cannot get government approval for it. We cannot get the insurance companies to understand it. We've screamed at them. We've pitched to them. We've done elevator pitches. We've sent them decks. They keep saying no. We need to find another way for this health solution to be able to go to market. What else have you got? Well, So what you have to do is first admit that you're stuck in a certain field. Where is that person stuck? Okay. I think so diagnose it first. So that person might be stuck in a blind spot, which is that fantastic technology. If you scream loud enough, everybody should just want it. Okay. That's a bias. You need to put that person in a room with other people, with other possibilities, so that they can start to see that their genius, which truly it is, right, actually has the potential to serve in a different way. But don't ask them what that different way should be, right? So, and the story that I have that's in the book also is Cargill, which is a company that invented, or stevia, which is a sweetener, the artificial sweetener.
Yeah.
And they have polymer chemists and agriculture specialists and all these great people. One of the people, Florian Schattenman, is in the book. He's the head of their global R&D and innovation. And it turned out that the sweetest part of stevia is actually able to be produced not by the soil scientists, but by fermentation. Okay. Well, that scientific discovery is a big idea, but it can make the soil scientists feel like they're left out, right?
Yeah, they're not needed anymore, right?
Right, exactly. So they'll sabotage it. This isn't true, but you could imagine that it would be like, oh, I don't have time to meet with those.
They'll block it by definition, right? They'll stack it, right?
Correct. So the first one is blind spot. The first example I gave is a blind spot. I can only see it my way. The second one is this subtle sabotage. We don't know we're doing it, but since I'm not a fermentation person, I'm not comfortable. I'm going to cancel all the meetings with them. I'm going to get them out of my budget.
Yeah.
Right? So what I talk about is it, and I never, I was such a serious kind of business strategy data person. When I realized that it's people that are preventing progress, I was like, wait a minute, that's not what I was taught in business school. Right? Like, how can people be part of the equation? How can our psychology be part of the problem? And then I thought about myself, because I honestly want to do yoga. Like, honestly, I look at people doing yoga. They look healthy. It seems like a really good idea. But if I really wanted to do yoga seriously, I would be doing it. It's not expensive. You can do it on the internet. So what's the difference between my intention and my actions?
Yeah.
There's something that happens every morning. I either wake up and I'm like, something happens. And so unfortunately, that was my big aha that led to the book, is we need to realize that stuck for a company has to do with stuck for people. And the book is not at all a self-help book. It's not about that at all. But there are business strategies that we can use, that I know we'll talk about, to help different business initiatives get over the resistance, get over the hurdles, get out of the ruts, and move to a scalable business that can serve people.
Okay, interesting. In the end, you are getting back to my initial thought that was the cold side of technology and the warm side of people, right? So, and we are more and more discovering, right? And you have a lot of years working across different regions, countries, companies, right? And probably part of what you are also sharing with us is that the human side, right? I believe that can be a blocker, but can also be what makes things different from an innovation. So can be something that will delay you, or can be something that will boost you, right, at the same time, because it's really that human side. And on the book, and we've talked about this before, you have an expression saying that our goal is to make others the heroes of themselves. And I like that expression, right? So, like you said, it's not a self-guide, but if we put ourselves in their shoes, saying, if I was Andrea, right, what should I do next Monday? Because that's what makes me feel the hero of my own story, right? So what can you tell people about how they should write their own story, how they should become the heroes of their own stories, their own lives, because I do believe that technology needs to come to overpass that somehow, or else, like you just said, technology is just there to, oh, there is technology there, but I'll keep it, right? But I want to be happy, right? And many people make this distinction between technology and happiness. I believe we can have both, right? But so turning people the heroes of their own story, their own life, right? And have a couple of stories in the book, right? Is something that it's easy, or you need to brainstorm them, you need to brainwash them. So are there any techniques, anything that you teach us about making people the heroes of their own lives?
I cannot believe that you've gotten me to talk about the people side of business. I'm going to get even more surprising for a person like me that cares so much about technology and research and data, which is that I believe that people love their jobs. And I believe that people love the fact that their companies, we talk about purpose or vision or mission, but it's really when we go to work, we love to feel that we have contributed to something that has improved the lives of other people. Sometimes it's a contribution to the team we work with, like I promised somebody something and I got it to them and I feel good about that. It doesn't have to be saving the world or the planet, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, you don't want to feel like, oh my goodness, here I am doing exactly what I did yesterday and nobody's going to care or benefit. So I have gotten to the point in my career, and it's been a journey of working with lots of companies and lots of teams, realizing that if you come right down to it, people love their job for different reasons. And it reminds me, I think I told you my father was a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
And when he retired, he became a stand-up comedian. And he was such a great storyteller for understanding the human aspect of reality, right? And he used to quote this very kind of corny joke, or like a cartoon that was once, a cartoon. So there were three guys. They were guys in this era, digging holes, like the street, like they were improving the road. And you probably know this cartoon. And one of them is like cursing and sweating and complaining, and he's digging the hole, and the second guy is like just kind of digging the hole, like dun da dun da da. And the third guy is like gleaming, oh my goodness, I'm digging this hole. So do you know this story?
Yeah,
I'm sure you do. So the first guy is like, what are you doing? And this is like work. What are you doing? I'm digging a hole and it's hot and I've been
complaining, right?
And I'm digging this hole and it's hard and blah, 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 blah. Second guy, what are you doing? I'm supporting my daughter through college.
Yeah.
Third guy, I'm building a cathedral.
so each one of them has a purpose, right?
Totally different purpose. So, it's a corny way of explaining human nature, which is you don't go to the first guy and say, don't you love church? It's like, no, he's just all about the work, clocking in, getting it done. The second guy, the third guy, if you said, oh, what about paying tuition? It's like, tuition? I don't care about paying tuition. I'm on a higher purpose. So you have to figure out what's making someone, but I honestly believe, and you can argue with me, maybe, Nuno.
Yeah.
I think people really want to feel a sense of contribution in what we do. And to me, that's not about pitching AI. That's about understanding that AI can be pitched, so to speak, for many, many different ways, right? It can be like it's a time for the efficiency people in quadrant 3. It's a time saver. Do you realize it took you 8 hours to do something you can do in 8 minutes? For the big picture people, it can be you realize that you came up with 80 fabulous ideas in your brainstorming session. I'm going to push this button and you're going to see 80 million ideas. They're going to be sorted. They're going to be searched. They're going to have visuals. And it's like going to a magical circus, where suddenly you see the future so well. With the people, you can say, we have 50 really great surveys that came back, but we could push the button and do 1 million. It's like, let's push the button. So, and then for the people in the data, it's not just the data, it's the data with the insight. It's saying, right now we see a lot of information about what somebody wants to download something in exchange for a donut. But there is a world where we could have banks that finally have the back end infrastructure. We could have an omni-channel platform. We could have a division. Now they have Rappi Entertainment, Rappi Travel. It's like, that's possible. You want us to push the button? Don't tell them how the button works.
Yeah. So, quick question. We are kind of reaching to the end of our conversation, but let me see how many. I'll count the seconds that you need to answer my question. Very simple one, right? The two guys digging the hole, right? If I ask you based on your experience, let's call it humanity or everyone that you will work with, what will be the right percentage that you'll say that each organization or the world or of each country or whatever that you put? What's the percentage of the first guy, the second guy, and the third guy?
Okay, that's trick. I think 80% are the second guy. I think 80% of the people are... And
you are optimist by nature, right?
I am an optimist by nature, but a real optimist would think it was the third guy building a cathedral. That everybody walks into work with this huge purpose, and at the end of the day, doing spreadsheets, they're like, I've just built a cathedral. No.
Yeah.
I think that most people, and it's fine, you contribute small c. That's fantastic, right? And if your company is not like hurting people, murdering people, doing terrible things, you're fine. You're making a living. You're small c contributing. That's perfect. Like, I'm not making a judgment, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people are grumpy because a lot of jobs are pretty grumpy, to be honest. We have a lot of grumpy things. I have about 2 hours a day of grumpy things I have to do. I avoid them.
But you need to do it, right?
You have to do it.
You need to dig the hole.
Correct.
And the other 20%?
And the other 20%, I would say probably, I think it's probably 15% grumpy, probably 18% grumpy, and 2%, cathedral day.
Okay.
And by the way, it's not an individual. It's like in the course of a day, it's mostly me even. Like, I'm mostly just doing my to-do list, right? A little bit like very complainy, like especially certain tasks that I can't stand doing, like invoicing, and it's like, don't want to do my taxes.
The ugliest part.
Yeah. And then a little bit of the time I go, this is pretty cool. I get to travel the world and help people, but small.
So what is the message, right, that I can ask you to tell people, right, that you want to be some kind of takeouts of this conversation?
I think that, to me, the takeaway, and I'll address the audience in a moment.
Yeah.
Monday morning. But to me, the takeaway is that there's a method for getting unstuck. And it starts with understanding that getting unstuck is a team sport. That we can't get ourselves unstuck because we have our own perspectives. The second part of this is AI, because I've been through the e-commerce revolution, the mobile phone revolution, and we are at a leapfrog moment. And if we don't have others around us to encourage us to get uncomfortable and take the leap into AI, I think that we will be left so far behind that we won't be able to catch up again. Okay. So one thing I would say, on Monday morning, find some other people to challenge you in a very positive way, to look at all of the different ways you could expand your contribution using AI and do something. That's basically the most important thing. Is I have 5 stages: envision it, expand it, build it, engage with others, but ultimately activate. And I would say that's the Monday morning. Okay.
So let me ask this for a moment, right? So honestly, guys, this really, it was a pleasure to me, Andrea, right? So the book, it's there, right? Get it, right? It was really a pleasure to have you here. My honor, right? And we'll see you all soon also. And again, Andrea, thanks for coming to the Qonnecting Thoughts.
And I'll give my little final part, which is, if you want to get the book or learn more, it's andreakates.com.
Easiest. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining.